It took me 1,300 DMs to learn this one thing that got me 2 times more booked calls for me and my clients. And it's called a sales flow. I'll teach you exactly what it is in less than a minute. And after that, I'll spend the rest of the video teaching you how to build it for yourself. The good news is that it's really easy to make. The bad news is that it's a bit hard to perfect. But if you stick around to the end, I'll share the 4 advanced rules that separate the best who are using this from the amateurs. So, what is a sales flow? The best coaches only talk about one thing. They emphasize one pain point and then they say, I have just the thing. I got people like you to X before. Let's book a call right now. In other words, this one thing in the DMs is called a sales flow. It's an exact, predictable path of your conversation, starting from their first reply and ending with them booking a call again. A sales flow is a document that guides your conversation and lets you know exactly what to say next, and it makes your conversations predictable. It stops you from talking too much and making your leads uninterested. It stops you from giving free consultation in the DMs, and it makes it so much easier for your prospects to know why you're messaging them and why they should care. But most importantly, a sales flow protects you from the burnout of outreach because it stops yourself from asking, what do I say next? Even the best setters in this outreach industry I'm in, they only have a 40 to 50% booking rate. And that means in a best case scenario, if you're a world-class setter, half of your conversations are going nowhere. So you're wasting creative energy thinking of the perfect customer reply for someone who's probably going to ghost you anyway. And I don't know about you, but that's going to drain your motivation. Save that passion for the call. So that's what a sales flow is in less than a minute. But before I teach you how to make it yourself, I need to show you why the old 2023 version of chatting is dead. The old way of messaging people is to be friends first, build rapport with them, and explain what you do. That method is so dead today because your prospect on Instagram has zero patience and they've been bombarded by 10 other setters who already reached out to them and have wasted their time. To fix this, we need to be quick, straight to the point, and professional. Your new goal now is the minimum viable qualification, or MVQ, and your only job in the outreach is to determine if the prospect you're talking to is qualified for a call or for your service as quickly and efficiently as possible. There are only 3 questions you need to know to see if someone is qualified, and that's if the prospect has a real painful problem that you can solve, otherwise intent. It's also if the lead you're talking to matches your ideal client profile or your target audience. In other words, are they a fit? And the third most important thing you want to find out is if they have the resources to invest in your solution. Do they have money or the capacity to even work with you in the first place? The good news is you don't always have to ask all 3 questions. Most of the time, their profile will tell you if they're a good fit. And if they look successful, you might not even to ask about capacity. Your main job is almost always to confirm intent and to see if they're in pain or not. The modern sales flow assumes the prospect is already interested because your assets are doing the heavy lifting. In other words, your offer should sell itself and filter out people who aren't fit. Your content around your profile should answer their objections so you don't need to build rapport in the conversation. And your profile should build all the authority and social proof that's needed so you don't have to do this yourself in the chat. So now that we know we have to find those 3 things, how do you build your sales flow to extract all those answers? The most basic step is creating a simple script with 1 question each for all the 3 pillars. So it's intent, fit, and capacity. Now, the questions I'm going to give you as an example are really basic, they're really old. I would not recommend that you start your conversations like this, but they're still pretty good examples. The first question is about their intent, and we want to see what their biggest pain point is, and you can ask that by asking them what's the main thing that's holding them back from either 20K a month, 30K a month, or 40K a month. Depending on their answer, it would show you just how big of a pain point it is, because if it's a really big pain point, they might overshare, they might say it's this and they hate it, that sort of thing. Second is how do you confirm fit? What are 1 to 2 key criteria that make someone a perfect client for you? Maybe it's their niche or their current monthly revenue. Just find a very simple question that helps you understand if they're even a fit in the first place. So for example, for me, it's just asking if they're a coach or an agency owner. Because if they're not either of these things, I don't want to work with them. Third is how do you ask for capacity? In other words, how can you tell someone or ask someone if they have money to invest in your service? And this is a very subtle question or statement because you don't want to start selling or sound like you're selling in the DMs. And what I like to do is I like to make a statement that makes them correct me or agree or not. So I don't actually ask a question. So for example, if they answer if they're a coach or an agency owner, I tell them that's awesome because normally freelancers can't afford to drop $5,000 just to do outreach. So in that sentence alone, I'm not asking a question, but if they think $5,000 is too much, they will let me know. That's called elicitation, and I'll make another video about it. But the reason why it's so good is because you can make that statement and you can gauge to see if they think $5,000 is high or not based on how they respond to it. So it's a very good way to check the temperature of people. If they don't bat an eye, that means 5K is not a problem. If they're apprehensive, then that probably means 5K is a lot for them. Oh yeah, I'm not saying that working with me is going to cost you 5K. It was just an example. Now, a little bit of an extra tip is that you can find a way to ask all three of these questions with just one question by being a lot more specific about what you say. So for example, a question that combines both intent and fit is asking people what's hard about outreaching right now as a coach. Because if they're not a coach, they will tell you, and if something is hard about it right now, they will also let you know. Another example is when you combine fit and capacity by saying something like, is your coaching offer around 5K a month? I've consistently tripled the investments of my coaching clients in the first month by making them 15K. So if they have any kind of critical thinking, they'll understand that if you tripled their investment and made them 15K, that means the investment is 5K to work with you. These are just two simple questions you can ask that make the whole sales flow and conversation process much faster by assuming things about the leads you're talking to and then taking their silence as a yes. If they say no, at least you'll figure it out. You don't have to ask them. Once you have any of these answers, your final step is very simple and it's just, okay, it sounds like I might be able to help. Are you open for a quick call where I can show you how we can fix that problem for you? And honestly, that's it. That's the sales flow. It's just a step-by-step guide about what to say next and what you expect people to reply to and what you will reply to that. It's just a tree of the conversations you have. And it's really easy to make, but it's hard to perfect because you have to think a lot about the questions you ask. But if you're still watching this video now, I have 4 advanced strategies and rules you can follow to really make the most out of a sales flow. Rule number 1 is that context is key. A short and direct sales flow isn't right for everyone. So some niches are more forgiving. If your audience hasn't been spammed by dozens of other coaches or setters, then a slightly longer sales flow or conversation might work. For example, if you're reaching out to fitness coaches or business coaches, these people get tens of DMs every single week from people who are pitching their service because the fitness niche and the coaching niche in general is full of people who are reaching out to them. So a long conversation here is just wasting their time and they will hate it. So you should try to be as short and succinct as possible. In another case, if your business is more about helping people grow organically through YouTube content, like what I'm doing, free plug, then the chances of creators being already spammed by other setters and other businesses are pretty low. And you can kind of get away with having a longer conversation before you try to book them into a call. The simpler your offer is, the shorter your sales flow should be. If you have a clear numerical offer where you're telling someone, hey, I'll get you X amount of people in X amount of days, just keep it short. The only objections they might have is in the systems and how you do it and if you have clients already. But if your offer is emotionally charged and it requires a huge life change, like a 90-day fitness routine or doing couples counseling online, a slightly longer conversation is necessary to build the deep trust you need before the call. Rule number 3 is that the best people in this business don't just use and copy paste a generic script. They actually sound like someone who's from there. They use the same terms, the same slang, the same terminologies as their ideal clients. And this makes the prospects feel like you're one of them instantly, and it builds trust and connection like that. The last rule is that you should adapt your sales flow to the stage of your business. So if you're in stage 1 where you need more clients, your goal is to just fill your calendar and generate cash flow and talk to as much people as you can and see if they're a fit there or not. But if you're at a stage where money is not an issue and you want to save your time and not talk to people who are not qualified, then your goal is to protect your time and energy by using a slightly longer and more demanding sales flow so you can filter people out. Your booking rate might drop from 50% to 30%, but the people who do book will be serious high quality buyers, and that's kind of what you want. But here's a critical benchmark. You should only make your sales flow longer if your booking rate is healthy and above 30%. If your booking rate is below 30%, trying to add more friction is just solving the wrong problem. A low booking rate, even with the sales flow, means either the messaging of your sales flow is broken, it doesn't resonate with your leads, they don't feel committed, or they don't feel like having a call with you. Then you need to go back to the messaging and tweak it a bit until people are actually happy to talk to you. If it's not the messaging, it's probably the lead quality, as in you're talking to a lot of people who can't afford you, who aren't a fit, or who don't even have the problem that you're trying to solve. If you're still watching this video at this far, I just want to say thank you first. And most importantly, before you try to change your sales flow, update your sales flow, or tweak the messaging, make sure you use it at least 100 times first before you make any changes, because unless you're using it 100 times, you really don't know if it's working or not. And if you're just changing before that, then you're changing based off of your emotion and not based on the data that you find. Now, if having a lot of leads and not booking any of them is a problem that you have, feel free to message me on Instagram and we can see what we can do to help fix that problem and get you more clients. Aside from that, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel out. And more importantly, stay tuned for more because I have a lot more videos coming out.